Hey, my name is Daniel Prinn. I'm a staff writer here at the Movie Buff, and this year we were able to do exciting coverage of the South by Southwest Film Festival. And this week we're going to be releasing some of my interviews on YouTube in video form. Uh, and I just wanted to introduce this episode where I was able to talk with Elle Callahan, director and writer of Witch Hunt, which premiered as part of the 2020 Spotlight section here at this year's South by Southwest Film Festival. If you like what you see, leave a comment or check out our website at TheMovieBuff.net. Thank you and enjoy the episode.
I wanted to start. I feel like you've been probably already been asked this so many times, but just the story is so great here. Like, where'd you get the idea for it?
Well, I've always wanted to make a film about witches and witchcraft, and you know, I I think that if we put witchcraft in modern day, like we haven't really seen like what really how really the world would react to that. And so I just kind of, when I was writing it, I just kind of dropped witches into, 2020 America, and then the story kind of was born from that. Um,
Okay, nice. And with this commentary, like this is like one of the reasons I just love horror films, or just especially what you're able to do with the film. Did you want to speak about the themes about it at all?
I mean, I think it does have to say a lot about kind of like our current uh, political climate and the world we've been living in for the last 4 years. But I think it does reflect how witchcraft has been treated throughout all of history, and it's just a group of others that we don't necessarily understand, or who live in a different way than we're seen as the norms, and the oppression that they face for it. And it doesn't have to be witches, it can be all different types of people that, unfortunately, just because they're not living the way that society deems as normal, they're kind of cast out for it.
Okay. Yeah, and I definitely got the LGBTQ plus like commentary, like, or just that aspect of it as well, with them being um yeah, just with the minority groups kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, everyone just wants to live their life healthily and safely, and unfortunately sometimes they're not allowed to. That's not fair.
Also, what went into the decision to make it the Witch Amendment, the 11th Amendment?
Because our Bill of Rights had 10, and I was like, well, like, what if the Bill of Rights was 11? I mean, obviously there is a real 11th Amendment that happened, but I kind of wanted to just expand the Bill of Rights a little bit and have it actually be written into our Constitution earlier. And, in a world building aspect, my kind of background with it was, when witches were kind of discovered and kind of came out and into the light, it was at a time where America was still writing its laws, because we're such a new country. And so then it was kind of written into our kind of core being how they would be treated.
With the world building, did you envision how long that Martha has been doing this for, and like how many families she's helped?
um I would say maybe I always thought that she'd been doing it for about only a couple years, because she's still new to it, and still like some of the process kind of shakes her, even though she has a good grasp on it. But only a couple years.
Okay, cool.
Although the network has been around for quite a while.
Also, what was it like casting the two leads here with the Gideon Adlon and Abigail Cowen?
It was very natural casting. They both had such a strong grasp of the characters that it just felt right to just hand them off to them. I knew from the first meeting with both of them that they were the right choice for the role, just because they were so inquisitive and curious and hopeful about telling this kind of story. And they both had very personal connections to the roles, and they did an amazing job and took the characters um, in an amazing direction that I don't think I could have ever imagined would work out so well. So, props to them. They're amazing at what they do.
And can you talk about those personal connections at all, or not really?
Well, I think, with Abby and, Fiona I chose to make all my witches redheads just to kind of give them a kind of physical quality that people could like identify magic with. And we talked a lot about, how she grew up with red hair and how she was teased for it and felt isolated, and that she kind of saw that in Fiona's character and was able to kind of harness that into her take on the character. And, Gideon is very spiritual and very into kind of witchcraft in general, and had a fantastic grasp on it already, and was very excited to kind of jump into the role.
Cool. Was it kind of a happy accident that they'd already done projects relating to witches?
Yeah, at the time, Gideon hadn't done the craft yet, so we filmed this before that was filmed. But I think it just kind of shows that these roles are meant for us, I guess.
Oh, with the witch hunter character, how did you think of that pocket watch thing? I thought that was really cool.
Oh, well, actually, I was watching Pan's Labyrinth, and the villain in that has a watch, and I was like, what a cool little prop. And I didn't want to give him my villain. I just wanted something physical and mechanical that my villain could use to try to find witches, because he represents the order and kind of like the government and science, whereas the witches are kind of like this chaotic natural energy. So I wanted to give him some kind of instrument that he could use to kind of seek out the magic. And I also grew up sailing, so I was familiar with barometers, and I thought it was a really interesting thing if the pressure changes when magic is done, and he could physically then see that magic has happened there. Because I think with things that we don't understand, we look to ways to explain them, and so that's kind of the science way of explaining magic. Is it has to do with pressure.
Okay. Okay. I bought that explanation. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
I don't know if you wanted to spoil who plays the villain, but what was it like casting him for this? What was it like working with him?
It was fantastic. I mean, he had Christian had such a grasp on that character, and he brought this very kind of stoic order and terror to any scene that he walked into, which is exactly what we wanted for that character. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I love Christian on Dexter as the ice cream man or ice truck guy or whatever.
The ice truck there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think the best villains are the ones that believe that they're doing the right thing, and so that was important for me and him with that character. And also, you don't have to, he doesn't have to say that much to scare you, he doesn't need to, he already knows that he has all this power, and so we tried to play with that a lot too.
Okay. And yeah, just in the first scene that we see him, when you just have it on, we only see the side of his face. I thought that was really effective.
Thank you. He's very intentional.
Yeah. Okay.
He definitely moves the camera himself, let's just say.
Okay. Also, I wanted to ask, there's a lot of scenes here where you can go from like very heartwarming drama right into the horror of it. What was it like finding that balance with that?
That was kind of difficult, honestly, because you want to have your jump scares and scare people, but you also want them to care about the characters. So for me with this film, I prioritized my protagonist and her journey, and kind of let the rest of the film follow. And so I went into it knowing that I wanted to have some scenes startle you or make you anxious, but at the same time, if if that was going to be at the expense of my character's development, then that would have to take a backseat, because you're not going to be scared if you don't care about the characters.
Fair. And even when the scenes aren't like specifically horror and it's just kind of like dramatic tension, I think that comes across as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the slow build to anything is always important. So I find tension to be scarier than scares, like, if that makes sense. So I try to build that as much as possible.
Okay, I feel you, and I think you did it well here.
Thanks. Thank you.
What was it like, just like designing that visual with just in the way that in Claire's dreams, just how like there's like that visual that starts the bit of the memory. What was it like designing that, how that looked?
Honestly, that's all my editor. And he was just playing with reversing fire, and it was interesting because we wanted to overlay that on there, and we just kind of played with negative space to create this kind of like very flashy, dreamlike, kind of reminiscent image. And it reminded me so much of like flashes of dreams that I can't articulate after they've happened, that we just thought that it felt quite fitting.
The film's very female centric, but I was just wondering if there's ever a draft of the script where warlocks were included, or was it always just witches?
Early on there was, but it kind of got a little too complicated, and I wanted to focus on the history of witchcraft specifically. So I guess no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I don't know. I gotta give witches their day. I feel like we have enough wizards with Harry Potter.
I agree. Was there any like really interesting tidbit that you found when you were doing research on witchcraft?
So I did a lot of research, too much research. And we kind of think about, the Salem witch trials as being this, one event, and then, that was it. When in reality, we were burning women all across Europe and Asia and America for far longer than just this kind of 2-year span in Salem, Massachusetts. And it was pretty fascinating because there's like people that their job was being witch hunters, and they would come around and to different towns, and you would give them money and they would kind of smoke out the witches, or people would pay them to accuse people of being witches. And it was like very common, like a normal job. Like, it wasn't a weird or quirky occupation. It was like almost like as normal as having like a government occupation. And I thought that was so fascinating. And so I was like, all right, let's just make that a normal job in 2020. How would that work? How would that be utilized in our society? So yeah, I didn't know about that until I did all my research on it, and I was quite fascinated.
Okay, I think you transplanted that well. So that's awesome.
Also, there's actually not a lot of burnings. It was mostly drownings and squishings with stones.
Squishings.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't put that in the movie though.
No. I'm just trying to envision what that would look like. Wow.
Not great, and so I didn't want to do it.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That might be tricky to do practically. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the one man that died in the Salem witch trials was squished. So there's your warlock.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, awesome. The Thelma and Louise references are great. I was just wondering, what was that like for you to bring this into the story?
It was really fun. That was one of the first films that I ever saw that had such like a powerful and playful and kind of risky, like kind of female friendship relationship. And I think it mirrored a lot of things that happened in this film. And so I really wanted to, bring that in there.
Awesome.
And just because it's an older film and I want more younger people to watch it.
Yeah, it's a great
Maybe they'll
film.
get curious.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So Elle Callahan, writer and director of Witch Hunt, which is world premiering at South by Southwest. Thank you so much for talking with me on The Movie Buff.
Thank you for having me.